So today we're going to talk about deciduous plant identification. Richard, I'm going to start off with a question for you. What is a deciduous plant?
A deciduous plant is a plant that loses its leaves for a certain time of the year due to dormancy.
Okay, good. And we're going to look at both herbaceous and woody deciduous plants. We're standing here in front of a tree. This is one of, say, 300,000 plus plant species. How do we sort all of that out to determine what this is?
Well, the first step would probably be grouping it by family.
Right.
That would be the easiest step. And then you would look for specific characteristics beyond that to help come up with a more individual classification.
So the genus and the species.
And then species.
And what's that system called?
It's called binomial nomenclature.
Which is two, nomial, number naming system. So we can take the 300,000 plants and we can single it down to one single name for this plant. So Richard, how would you take this tree and identify it? What would you look at?
Well, there's a few things to look at. I'd probably start with the bark right here, right in front of us.
Right.
Look at specific characteristics of it. I notice a lot of it is falling off. What would that be about?
So this is plating. And it's called exfoliation when it drops the bark off. And this leaves us a distinct pattern on this particular tree. Now, this is not always true for a lot of trees, but here it is, and it's left us with a distinct pattern. So what else would you look for on this tree to be able to identify it?
Well, if they're easy to access, next I would probably look at the leaves of the tree.
Right, so we've got that kind of typical maple shape leaf to look at. What else?
Well, I would look for the fruit of the tree, see if there's any seeds or seed pods, things like that.
Okay. This tree is not producing fruit right now. It's a little too early in the season for that. But yeah, look at the fruit. And
perhaps it could have some flowers then.
Flowers,
if it has no fruit.
So we've got bark, we've got leaf, flower, fruit. What else?
General shape of the tree and its growth habit.
Yeah. So the overall shape, an easy way to look at some things is a silhouette. So a black and white picture in a book that outlines the mature shape of the tree. So with that, then, with putting all those together, we can classify this tree to what it is, which is Platanus X acerifolia. Okay, Richard. So what can you tell me about this tree and how we would identify this tree?
Well, the first thing I notice is that this has much smaller leaves and many more leaves. Would these be the leaves?
Well, they're actually leaflets, right? So the whole thing is a leaf, and these are leaflets.
I see.
And what else do you know about this tree?
Well, I know that the bark is much different than the sample from the last tree.
Okay. In what way?
Well, this bark was exfoliating, and the bark for this tree is nowhere near as exfoliating.
Yeah, and if we look at the plating of the bark, that's what we call the scales on the bark. If we look at the plating, we see that the plating is very regular, uniform, and as you're correct in saying it doesn't exfoliate. What can you tell me about the fruit and the flower?
Well, I know that with this tree in particular, this is a very unique fruit. It's it has given the tree its name.
Right.
The Kentucky coffee tree. This is used to make some sort of coffee drink. It's a huge seed pod full of seeds. I know that our last tree would never make a seed pod like that.
No, the last tree has small balls that hang down.
Right.
Yeah. And where would this tree grow?
I believe this tree is native, is it not?
Yeah, it is. It's a Carolinian species. So we're right on the edge of where it naturally occurs in Ontario, Canada, and then further into the United States.
Right.
And because it's got a bipinnately compound leaf, so if we look at this leaf and this whole thing. So this whole thing is equivalent to that, right? That's a leaf, that's a leaf.
Yes.
What would the winter profile of this plant look like then compared to this?
This tree would probably be a lot more bare and probably not very impressive in the winter because it would not have fine limbs on it.
It looks very stark. So when these leaves fall off, it leaves very, very coarse branching, whereas this tree has got a lot of fine branching. If I pulled down a branch here, if you can hold on to those, and I pull down this branch, and I'm going to remove these leaves so that you can see what it would look like. So here I've removed all of the leaves from this branch so that we can see what it would look like in winter. And you can see it's very thick, very coarse profile. And the last tree that we looked at, the Platanus, you can see has got very, very fine branching because it's got these simple palmate leaves, and these are bipinnately compound. So very fine winter profile, very, very coarse looking winter profile because of the much, much larger leaves. And typically we see that on a tree. When a tree has larger leaves, it usually has a much coarser branching structure and than the ones with the simple leaves.